VA Army National Guard Intelligence Analyst Sergeant Schembeck is a math teacher on 8 Oak.
Army Sergeant Andres Rodriguez served in Desert Storm and is the father of Angelina Rodriguez.
Corporal Alejandro Enriquez served in South Korea and is the father of Asia Enriquez.
U.S. Navy Machinist Mate Roy Horton is Barbara Horton's father. U.S. Army Airborne Captain Matthew Horton, who graduated from East Stroudsburg Area School District, is the brother of Barbara Horton.
Marine Sergeant Thomas Rodriguez served on 1 tour in Afghanistan and 2 tours in Iraq. He is the father of Caden Rodriguez.
Carl Labar, U.S. Army Infantry, is the father of 7 Oak Social Studies teacher Robert Labar. Leonard Nzvosha was in the Korean War while serving in the Army from 1951 to 1952. He is the father of security guard Carol Pinto.
Connor Smith is currently serving in the United States Coast Guard and is Caroline Ambrosia's cousin.
L-82nd Airborne Army Private Roger Singerling Jr. was the uncle of Mrs. Cheyenne Fry, 7 Oak English teacher.
Marine Corporal Andrew C. Snyder was a mechanic for F-18 fighter jets. He is the son of Mr. Snyder, 6 Oak science teacher.
Marine Corporal Keith Metzger served in Operation Enduring Freedom and is the father of Aaron Metzger.
Army Sergeant George Featherman is Christopher Pearson's grandfather.
Airman First Class Clark Gensler served in the Air Force during the Korean War and is the great-grandfather of Trinity Taylor. Army Private Elmer Yo is the grandfather of Colleen Coeller, 6 Maple reading teacher. He was killed in action while serving in Lorraine, France during World War II.
Master Sergeant Drake was a helicopter flight engineer who served in Afghanistan. He is the uncle of Mrs. Dunlap.
Master Sergeant Drake was a base career advisor and is the aunt of Mrs. Dunlap.
Marine Corporal Raymond Pizzuti, brother to 7th grade student Damian Haynes.
Marine Sergeant Daniel East Sanford is the father of 7 Oak student Daniel L. Sanford. He served in the United States Marine Corps from 2005 to 2017.
Army Captain Donald B. Toth served from 1942 to 1963. He is the uncle of Mr. Donald Terry Toth, JTL computer teacher.
Army Medic Harry Cruz was the grandfather of Justin Cruz Del Vecchio, the 7th and 8th grade band director at JTL. He was a medic in the Korean War.
Army Reserve 2nd Lieutenant Doug Toth is the nephew of Mr. Terry Toth, JTL computer teacher. He is currently located at Fort Jackson for his bulk training, basic officer leadership course. Once he completes this course, he'll be able to apply for first lieutenant.
Army Private Anthony Torres is the son of JTL's Officer Rivera. He started his service in June 2024 and is still serving.
Army Sergeant Samuel Rivera is the husband of JTL's Officer Rivera. He served in the Army from October 1998 to August 2004.
United States Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Deidre Gurry, sister of Mrs. Weiss, served as a C-17 T-6 instructor pilot and squadron commander. Miss Fisher, 8 Oak science teacher, served in the Navy from 1991 to 1996. She is seen here at the Navy Corpsman School in San Diego, California.
Marine Lance Corporal Jason Leap was a member of the 2nd Marine Division stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. He teaches social studies on 8 Oak and is the JTL head football coach.
Petty Officer Jeff Yo is the brother of 6th Birch teacher Mrs. Neely. He served in the United States Navy.
Joseph McHugh served with the Marines. He is the husband of Mrs. McHugh. Air Force Airman Alan Jackson is the father of Alan Jackson. Airman Alan Jackson served in Turkey as a medic and later served in the Navy. Paratrooper in the 101st Screaming Eagle Airborne, James Mott, is the father of 6th Birch teacher Mrs. Neely.
Army veteran Robert Mills received the Purple Heart for his service during World War II and was the grandfather of Lisa Turgeon, JTL librarian.
Second Lieutenant Alfred A. Ostrowski was the father-in-law of Deanna Ostrowski, JTL Special Education Department Chair. He served in the U.S. Army Infantry during World War II and also served as a Merchant Marine seaman from 1945 to 1948. Sergeant William Kane is the father of Kate McHugh. He was a Green Beret Airborne Ranger. He served our country in the Korean conflict.
Staff Sergeant Michael Steigerwall is the father of Ray Lenhart, JTL principal.
Airman Raina Exner is the grandmother of Ray Lenhart, JTL principal.
Senior Master Sergeant Ronald Exner is the grandfather of Ray Lenhart, JTL principal.
Sergeant Zachary Taylor, who's under the National Guard, has served in Kuwait and Iraq and is the older brother of math teacher Miss Taylor on the 7 Oak team.
Gene Hargraves served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He is Mrs. Hargraves' husband's grandfather.
Neil Hargrave is Mrs. Hargrave's father-in-law. He served our country during the Vietnam War.
Mike Hargrave, Mrs. Hargrave's brother-in-law, served our country in the U.S. Navy during the Global War on Terrorism.
SP4 Glenn Miller, featured on the left, is the grandpa of Alston and Bella Fish.
Sergeant Tamika Ellis served in the U.S. Air Force from 1989 to 1995 and participated in Operation Desert Storm/SHIELD during 1990 to 1991. She is the mother of Olivia Green.
Specialist Keith Dyer is the brother of Dr. Greenwood, 7 Birch English teacher.
Henry Yeh is the grandpa of McKenna Banning and served in the United States Navy as an electrician during Vietnam.
Lieutenant James K. McCullen III served in the Navy and is an uncle to Luca Godotti Barbera.
Sergeant Terry E. Dyer served as a radar specialist in Korea during the Vietnam War and is the father of Dr. Greenwood, 7 Birch English teacher.
Master Sergeant Shannon Neely is the brother-in-law of Dr. Greenwood, 7 Birch English teacher. Air Force Staff Sergeant Bridget Neely is a sister of Dr. Greenwood, 7 Birch English teacher.
Navy Officer Guillermo Nieves is the father of Caden Nieves, JTL 8th grade student. The veteran is currently deployed. Louis Knob served in the Army during the Korean War. He is the father of Mrs. Petcha, who teaches English on the 8 Oak team.
Army PV2 Kara Melillo is the mother of Christopher Pearson.
Marine Edward Terrence Roche is the grandfather of Catherine Vitale. He served his country in the 1950s. He continued to be proud that he was a Marine the remainder of his life.
IS-2 Kaylee DeYoung is the mother of McKenna Banning and served in the United States Navy during Operation Iraqi, Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom.
Sergeant Canarias is Kiro Canarias' father. He served his country in the Marines.
Army PFC Frank Morrow is the grandfather of Madison Lohr. He served in Vietnam. Private Michael J. Mullins is the uncle of Emma Mark, a 6 Oak student. He served in the ROTC and the Ranger Elite Squad while attending Bucknell University.
EO Petty Officer 3rd Class Matthew Sicko is a family friend of Amanda Dorn, JTL Special Education teacher.
GM1 Joshua Banning is the father of McKenna Banning and served in the United States Navy during Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom.
Robert DeYoung is the great-grandfather of McKenna Banning and served as a pilot in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II.
Army Sergeant First Class Michael Hutchinson is the father of Nicholas Hutchinson.
KC-130 Quality Assurance Marine Sergeant Chadwick Smith was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and completed 3 combat tours in Afghanistan. He is the father of Nevaeh Smith.
Senior Airman Nicholas Johnson, uncle of Kai Shonat. Airman Morrow is the mother of Madison Lore. She served during Operation Desert Fox. Army Specialist Domenico DiGarlamo is the stepfather of Riley Ike.
Robert DeYoung is the great-grandfather of McKenna Banning and served as a pilot in the U.S. Army Air Corps during World War II. Marine Corporal Hart is Annabelle Clark's pop-pop. He was an organized auto mechanic.
Engineer Robert Jenkins served on the Coast Guard cutter Campbell and is currently the chairman of the Monroe County Veterans Association. He is the father of Zachary Jenkins. Norman Marsh was in the U.S. Army Infantry and is the stepfather of Seven Oaks social studies teacher Robert LeBar.
Ron LeBar, U.S. Army Infantry, is the brother of Seven Oaks social studies teacher Robert LeBar. Brian Ferris, U.S. Army Military Police, is the father-in-law of Seven Oaks social studies teacher Robert LeBar. Army Sergeant Douglas Daly served for 4 years and jumped out of airplanes. He is the dad of Brian Daly.
Marine Master Sergeant Timothy Benway served in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Inherent Resolve, and is currently still serving in active duty. He is the father of Michael and Marcus Benway.
Army 213th Signal Co-Commander Captain Amanda Hayes is the aunt of Christopher Torres. Sergeant Juan Sace is the grandfather of Destiny Sace. He served for 8 years in the Marines and served in the Iraq War. Sergeant Jorge Monge is the uncle of Destiny Sace. He served twice in Afghanistan and was a flight medic in the U.S. Air Force.
Sergeant Alexander Sommers is the brother of Savannah Sommers, 6th grade student at JTL.
Gunnery Sergeant Randy L. Williamson, active duty USMC, is a Purple Heart recipient. He is a graduate of East Stroudsburg High School South. He is the uncle of Savannah Sommers.
PA Army National Guard 1st SD Boga Mill is the wife of Miss Schembeck.
Army Specialist Sean Sikovic is the father of Braden Sikovic.
Staff Sergeant John Adario served 10 years in the Air Force and is the pop-pop of Trinity Taylor.
Sergeant William Whitney Sr. is the grandfather of Ms. Whitney, Seven Oaks science teacher. He served in the U.S. Army and worked in communications. His job included putting up telegraph lines when he served in France during World War II.
Airman Xavier Rivera is the son of JTL's Officer Rivera. He has been serving since September 2022.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the 'cause there ain't no doubt